Mr. Moore, you know this kid? His name is Kyle.
Uh-huh.
His father, Ron, used a firearm to defend him because someone was trying to break into the home.
Uh-huh.
This happens hundreds of thousands of times a year. Wondering whether or not you might owe Mr. Hefton an apology.
Actually what happens
been
is
trying to defend...
there's hundreds of thousands of kids who are in jeopardy every day because there's hundreds of thousands of guns in people's homes.
Michael, we're late.
My question is, how many people a year do you think are alive?
Who are you?
Larry Elder. How many people do you think are alive in America because family or loved ones?
I think you're in more danger. I think you're in more danger by having a gun in the house than not in the house.
Okay. The question though is, how many people do you think are alive?
Do you have a gun
every
in your
year?
house?
How many people do you think are alive?
Do you have a gun
year?
in your house?
Want to answer my question?
When I caught up with Michael Moore, he actually said he'd come on my show and debate the issues. Well, the truth is, I tried several months before and several times since. I can't even get my phone call returned. So here are some of the questions I would have liked to have asked.
Excuse me, Mr. Moore. Whopper called in sick. But to take her place, we've got Larry Elder. 5, 4, 3, 2, and...
Welcome to the Whopper Infree Show. Unfortunately, Whopper called in sick today and asked me to pinch hit for him. So here goes. Mr. Moore, why did you edit the timing, content, and intention of NRA President Charlton Heston's speech to make him appear insensitive and uncaring?
It's called creative license.
Well, I thought bowling was a documentary. Can you tell us, Mr. Moore, how many Americans use guns each year for defensive purposes? In other words, how many Americans are alive today because they were able to own a gun?
Well, I know there are a lot of guns in this country.
All right. In England, they've outlawed handguns. Yet the English murder rate is growing, and the English violent crime rate, assaults, car thefts, hot burglaries, now exceeds ours. How do you explain that?
Well, I don't see how that's really relevant. You're comparing apples to trucks. Good God, man, stick to the point.
Mr. Moore, do you know the purpose of the Second Amendment?
Could you repeat that question?
Never mind. In Vermont, a citizen may carry a concealed weapon without even getting a permit, yet they have a very low murder rate. Explain that.
It's the NRA. They're fascists, Nazis. They control everything. Hey, you sure Whopper's sick? Can I take a break? I need to use the restroom.
Oops, too late. Mr. Moore, your film never mentions that of those killed by guns, nearly half are black. In fact, your film doesn't interview a single victim of black-on-black violence. How can you do a documentary when 50% of victims are black and there are no black victims interviewed? You seem to think there's less violence in Canada. They have no crime, they have state health care, but isn't their suicide rate higher than ours? In Japan, there is a very low murder rate. In America, a country where you say guns are readily available, are you aware that among Japanese Americans, the murder rate is lower than the murder rate in Japan? Did you know that?
All right, that's enough.
Get security!
We live in a time where we have fictitious election results that elect a fictitious president. We are against this war, Mr. Bush. Shame on you, Mr. Bush. Shame on you.